All right. Welcome back to another edition of Scaling Secrets. I am your host, Alex Mahaz, and today our guest is Dr. Lew Lim, the CEO of Vielight Inc, a leading expert in improving brain functions throughout light therapy. The largest patent portfolio in the field of photobiomodulation, Dr. Lim has revolutionized wellness and brain function with his innovative research and products. Dr. Lim is widely recognized as a leading expert in improving brain infections through light therapy, significantly known as PBM. He holds the largest portfolio, and also as a CEO, he has translated his research into products that has demonstrated significant efforts on wellness and brain function. Dr. Lim is a doctor of natural medicine, an engineer, a neuroscientist with additional qualifications in business and accountancy. So without further ado, let's all welcome Dr. Lew Lim to the show. How are you doing, Dr. Lew Lim?
Very good. Thank you for the introduction, Alex.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I'm really excited to dive into your story and ultimately your journey as a CEO. But first, let's just kick us off with how did you first become interested, in the field of photobiomodulation and what ultimately inspired you to pursue that as a career?
Let's try and introduce photobiomodulation in case there are people who don't understand particular technology. It's really about, it is device-based, about delivering light of certain parameters, wavelength, and so on, to, in our case, to the brain, to stimulate the brain. The way we do it, we try to make it wearable, home use, available to anybody. And back to your question, when did I come across this technology and get it started? This is actually a technology that's been around since the 60s. It was called low-level laser therapy, low-level light therapy. A lot of it is in red light therapy today, stimulate the body and help you to recover and stuff like that. Now, this technology was really mainly within the confines of the Soviet bloc based in 60s, 70s, and it's mainly in Russian literature. But it started getting out of that world and into the Western world, if you like. And at that time, in the 90s, they were making claims that if you inject light into the bloodstream, it does good things. It helps to improve the properties of your blood, help you with recovery. At that time, they were looking at recovering from surgery, sugar level, a bunch of things. I thought that you didn't have to do that invasive procedure of injecting light into your bloodstream. Light can penetrate, particularly red and infrared light, which is really the kind of in the wavelength that does something that stimulates your body to respond. So started by introducing it through the nose because the membrane is thin. And it gets into your circulatory system, and it did good thing. I experimented with microscopy to see that it works. So it started from there, and now we have progressed over the years to invent our products, mainly at the moment to use this particular scientific field to stimulate the brain.
Yeah, and I can't imagine all the research that goes into that over the years that you and your team and just improving just all that additional research to get to where you're at today. You touched on light therapy, and obviously, like you mentioned, that's been around for many years. Can you give our audience just an explanation or the science behind how light therapy can improve your mental performance and cognitive function?
Yeah, we test all this and try to stimulate the brain, but we want to see that it works. We do really a bunch of research work, including clinical trials, to see that it improves your cognitive function. It helps with if you're cognitively impaired, like in dementia and Alzheimer's disease. And the area that we have a lot of focus now is on traumatic brain injury. So we have got evidence coming out of independent research centers like University of Utah, Boston University. We've done work at University of California, San Francisco. And that's the kind of, that is on the clinical side. But we're also looking at how we can personalize the kind of parameters, because light is not just light. It's like, what wavelength is it? What power do you want to deliver? What pulse frequency you want to do? How long to do it? Where do you want to locate it? So that's come up with many years of experience and research to tell us that, okay, now our job is to make it really simple. All the user needs to do is press a button, and that is it. But it changes over time because of new data that we are finding. So that's the kind of research we do. But we also do basic research. What I mean is we look at the effects on living cells, on components of brain cells, like the breaking it down even down to components like, let's say, microtubules that make up the structure of cells and that kind of thing, what the parameters have in terms of effect, and then translate it into simple devices that people use. So we do a lot of that. Hopefully, at the end of the day, our customer gets really good, simple devices to use.
Yeah, very specific and broken into kind of a product that they can really understand. You obviously, a lot of the work you have done has been great results over the years. Just reading your website in the background. And can you dive into details? Was there one success story or case study that you found out that you're really proud of in terms of treating traumatic brain injuries or Alzheimer's that you mentioned? Was there a success story that you can mention?
Yeah, I go back to one of earlier subjects, and we're talking about maybe around the year 2012, 2013, when we just had simple devices that I hypothesized could work with Alzheimer's disease, but we do not want to make a claim. So because of a non-medical device, even up for certain conditions, like particular dementia, we need big clinical trials, but we put it to a test on a Dutch immigrant. He was in the 70s at the time, located in Vancouver, British Columbia. Now, his family has a history. His siblings were almost like clockwork at this particular age. They get into this state where they start losing their cognitive ability and so on, which is science. And they were all diagnosed with certain stage of dementia. So that was like mild, moderate, which means that he was starting to lose his ability to remember. And his daughter was really getting quite desperate because of the family history. Now he started using the intranasal, actually deliver light to the brain from the nose. And it was really quite profound and surprising in the sense that in the early days, we didn't know what to expect, but he was improving. He started to recover his ability to relate to his relatives, remember his children's names again, and this stuff. Now that is 10 years ago, and he got normal. He had shut down his carpentry workshop, and he reopened it and resumed normal function again. So I understand he's still doing well. But I would say, okay, in clinical research, that's N equals 1, right? One subject.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean much. Could be placebo. But then we started doing clinical trials on dementia patients. We published. And actually, it does improve. But what we really need to do now, I'm just speaking on the world of dementia, that we have to go do these big clinical trials. Now we have stage 1, stage 2 done already in a hospital in Toronto. It's Michael's Hospital. Hopefully, we got all kinds of different ways to measure clinical and imaging and all that. So hopefully that will come up maybe towards end of this year or beginning of next year, published. And we've got traumatic brain injury data and a bunch of other things. That was kind of stuff that we want to be not just theorizing and marketing, but really to be able to support with rigorously controlled clinical trials.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And it's definitely a work in progress, obviously, with any clinical trial, even like cancer, there's so much that goes into it, so much research. But in the long game, I think we will get to a cure for all of this. So it's great. And you can tell all the work that goes into it. I want to transition, obviously, as a doctor of natural medicine, engineering and neuroscientist. How do you approach just integrating different disciplines to advance the field of neuroscience and neurology?
Actually, the combination of science is not, I'm privileged to be able to combine, because when you're running a company and collaborating with top scientists around the world and professors, to be able to bring that and then translate into a business to be able to fund further research and be able to make available this technology to the world and for people to benefit. So it kind of help. You get less reliant on other people to tell you what to do, because then you have a team that that can support your vision and moving forward and stuff like that. So I guess if you ask me, what am I, a scientist or a business person? The scientists look at me as a scientist and nothing else. My background as a business guy. So I really don't talk. It's actually quite rare that I talk over like an interview like this about business. Actually, I don't normally. I usually get into a presentation or scientific conference and present new findings and what I think is going to happen. So I really love that world. But we have to run a company, and I think that's really useful. I'm actually also a qualified chartered accountant.
Gotcha.
Awesome. MBA, so all this background. I've had a background in investment banking and stuff like that, but that's the whole world. So,
Yep. Definitely. And it's awesome. You bring those different dynamics to a company, especially as a CEO. You're able to, I'm sure, relate to different personalities and different skill sets. And you touched on one thing in terms of building teams. Can you elaborate a little bit more, maybe for some of our audience that's, a couple of years into their business and they're looking to scale and grow teams? What advice would you give to that newer entrepreneur about scaling teams and finding the right people inside of an organization?
Yeah, we all have a vision, what we want to become, what company we want to become. And I say, okay, we want to be really, when I started, there's a lot of science we didn't know. I know that there's a path to more discovery, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel is pretty blur, but it gets clearer as we move forward in that particular path. So we have a kind of vision, and everybody running a business knows that ultimately, to fulfill a vision or whatever you want to do, you need to have cash. Like cash flow is always king.
Yep.
Either you raise the money from investors, your friends and family in the beginning, or you have, like in my case, from my past career in technology and stuff. So I have a nest egg of some money to be able to get this going. And and that doesn't last forever. Then the path that is most desirable is to be able to generate your own revenue, right? Generate your revenue and pay all your costs rather than being dependent on raising money from third parties. Now, it might be surprising for the level that where we are now. We have not raised any money from anybody.
Wow.
So we started organically. One person, and we just kept growing organically now. And so we tried, and that's always, if I had gone to a state where I go into a negative cash flow, I have to go and raise money. So we grew rather than, so you have a choice. You want to grow really rapidly. If you have like a software platform or internet, maybe AI today, you need that kind of money, hundreds of millions maybe, to be able to compete and grow and meet and fulfill a vision. In our case, it's more like medical wellness and all that. And because of the uncertainties that we know as we progress from each stage, it's probably better to just lay away those kind of fast growth ambition and try to do it organically and be cash flow positive all the way. So we did. Okay, we started really small. We have early members of the team who are really good engineers, and very key because we are technology based rather than marketing based. So that marketing all come later.
Yeah.
You got to have a solid platform that will allow us to grow organically and just do it. There's always a risk. You may be going up the wrong path. You may be, and then you just end up nowhere. So sometimes it's, one shouldn't be that arrogant and say, oh, it's all my work and so on. But you could. The margin is very thin. There's a lot of entrepreneurs can tell you failure, right? So in a way, I think things converge and works for us, and we grew. And we're not like over 10 years, we're like hundreds of millions. We're not, but we're happy because we make our own decisions. Nobody tells us what to research. Nobody tells us to pay dividend and pay back rather than putting money back into research, because that's what we like to do and we do what we love. And that's the benefit of not in our case. But you can always have investors who are sympathetic, who agrees with your vision and all that stuff. It's always there. You want to work with people like that.
Yep.
In our case, We love what we do so much, science, that we really don't want to know about making the hundreds of millions. It doesn't mean anything because that's not what fulfills us as a team. What fulfills us as a team is new discovery, breaking new grounds, cutting edge, changing people's lives. And our view is, okay, you have money, what do you want to do with it? Oh, let's put it back into more clinical stuff. Forget about dealing with prevention or whatever it is. So that's about, and our team, most of us work hard. Our people go on holiday, long holidays, and explore the world and travel. But our traveling is in our brain. We're traveling to this part of discovery and so on. I guess it all depends on company culture, what you like doing. I'm not saying bad things about making money. Making money is always good. We try to make money. But our first love is science and discovery, and we try.
Yeah. No, that's amazing because, you can't put a price tag on some of the most important things in life. And I think your vision and your approach and to the company is so great because, like you said, there's billions of dollars just in the industry that you're in, but understanding your why and your purpose, like you went into, and the ultimate vision, helping people and discovering different research is really leaves a legacy behind when we're all gone and we're past that. Do you want to touch a little bit, just some of the devices I want to go into on your website and just some of the, brain stimulation devices that you guys offer? Can you touch on those? What is the difference between some of the devices and who is your ideal customer or user of these devices?
Yeah, I actually want to speak to the audience who tune into this podcast who are not necessarily scientists, normal people, achievers, probably. When I talk about brain stimulation, I talked about people with brain conditions of some kind. But we are actually the new group of adopters of technology are normal people, high functioning people, elite athletes, high level meditators who have discovered that this is doing something to me. Now, so the example is the recent MMA or UFC world featherweight champion Ilia Topuria actually uses our devices. And that sport, you get repetitive blows to the head. In the meantime, you still have to function at a very high level. And he knows, actually, we did not, well, for me anyway, I didn't know he was using our technology until he pops up in Instagram and his pictures before he won the title using this intranasal and on the head. He knew over time with the kind of protocol. Okay, I'm getting a little bit technical. He would our transcranial on the head and nasal can pulse at different frequencies, alpha or gamma. Now he figured out that I do gamma based on what his communication with a performance center, like the coach. He gave me some hints what to do gamma before his event, so his brain is being set up at a high level, function better, so he's make quick and better decision. And then when he's resting and all that, he does alpha for recovery and so on. That is pretty much exactly what we would recommend for elite athletes. Now we're getting adopted by the world of football, college, as well as top professional teams. I don't think I can mention the names of the professional football teams. We are testing and they see good results. But at the moment, I say in terms of college football, we are equipping Brigham Young University. That's what this is going to be like. They saw the data Friday last year. So now preseason, they're getting into it. We work very closely actually with the neighbor, University of Utah. They're publishing, actually they just published a paper. They just published a paper showing that they tested on 49 subjects. Most of them actually are football players who have reported concussion or traumatic brain injury. And then at the end of, I believe, 12 weeks, they tested their reaction time, the grip strength, decision-making, balance, and everything. Their performance in this versus control, which didn't have this treatment device, improved significantly. Actually, that paper was published literally last week.
Wow.
But they been for a long time. Now, that is an example of what the possibilities are. If like we know what to do, but all the subject need to do is just like them to listen to us. They just press a button, whether they're going to 10 alpha or gamma mode, so stuff like that. We have data on meditators that can switch into altered state. That is a research done at University of Arizona in Tucson and also in Toronto. Very interesting. We hope to get something published at the end of this year. So normal healthy brains, super brains can benefit as well. And that helps even people running businesses where they have to make decisions, if they have to function at a high level. Yeah, this can help.
That's awesome. Yeah, and definitely excited to see more publications. And I know at major universities too, a lot of your devices are being published. So that's awesome. I want to ask a couple of your questions and then we'll wrap up here. What do you see just the future with photobiomodulation and its potential impact on overall human health and wellness moving forward?
Yeah, although I'm telling you a lot of good things for the biomodulation, it is just making entry into the world of wellness, because for a long time people didn't believe, and now with all this talk about red light therapy, the panels and so on, so people are beginning to recognize that it's doing something. Now we are, like I say, focused on the brain, but we do other things too. We did a trial on COVID-19 for acute COVID-19. That's approved by Health Canada that we can go and make the claim and repeat. That's just an aside. It is making more and more impact. I noticed that 5 years ago, a lot of the scientists didn't believe the outcomes that we do. So we have to go do continuously research and clinical studies and publish and talk. And I do a lot of presentations to slowly win them over. So I believe that because it's natural, there's no side effect. We've got over 100,000 devices out there, and no one's reported they've gone to hospital because of this. Even in a COVID-19 trial, people without the treatment has gone to hospital and one person died, and not bad happened to people who are using our devices. That's so I think it will, because it's a wearable, it's simple to use. I believe that if the messaging is keep going out there, people will recognize that this is actually not a bad, it may be pretty good as a treatment option for various things. But you want to know, go to our website. There's plenty of information. It's vielight.com.
Yep. And we'll put that vielight.com. We'll put that in the chat box when we go live with this episode, so the audience and your audience can go to the website. Just one more question, really. Just ultimately, what was that one piece of advice that you received in your early days as an entrepreneur, as a business owner? That one piece of advice from a mentor, family, friends that kind of really helped shape your trajectory within business, within research and medicine today?
A couple of pieces. One is, you be afraid to, you see something that you think can happen, but it's never been done. Do not let it hold you back. But of course, you really remember, you got to live, you got to survive, try to incorporate it. And when you're running a business, anticipate before it happens, like cash. Companies die sometimes not because what they do is bad, it's just because they run out of money and they don't have a message that's good enough to raise. So if you have to do, like my case, okay, you try to grow organically just to be able to make sure that we don't go under. Most startups, within 5 years, 80% go under. So managing cash is very important. If you feel that you need money, I didn't, but if you need to go raise money, to make sure that you have enough to cover your burn rate, at least a year, you should do that and try to manage within your means. Forget about buying a Lamborghini and all that, and you raise some money. Make sure you, be profitable. You get to the stage where you're confident and that you can manage your cash before you do stuff like that.
Yep. Oh, I completely agree. Yeah. Don't go trying to look rich, especially in your early days as an entrepreneur. And I like how you mentioned too, know your burn rate. That's so important. How much cash that you're burning every month, and know what your limit is, and definitely know what your margins are too. And obviously your margins are going to change as you grow and scale, but know your numbers and know your books, because that's ultimately what's going to keep you alive in business. I love those points. Is there any last remarks before we wrap up that you would like to leave our audience or your audience? Just about anything about your company, the devices you use, mental performance, or, business. Any last remark?
Yeah, I want to say that we don't operate in like my world alone. We collaborate a lot. Sometimes you don't have enough resources. You got to find partners outside. In my case, a lot of them are researchers. So we top professors in top universities, be bold, make sure you know what they're talking about, and you got to be able to work with other people. But I would also want to sell photobiomodulation. Go to our website. If you have questions, just contact our customer service. They'll be able to help you. Yeah,
definitely. Awesome. Yeah. And there's a free consultation link on the website as well under contact. So we'll definitely, have everybody go there. And there's so much information today that we're definitely going to take. I know I took a lot of notes, but I appreciate all your time, Dr. Lew, and it's been an honor to have you and learn about your story and all the great things that you guys are continuing to grow and scale through all your research and technology. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share the story.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you guys. It's another edition of Scaling Secrets. Until next time, take care.